Good evening. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission for the Municipality of Anchorage. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Ferguson,
Here.
Mr. Robinson, Mr. Spring,
Here.
Mr. Strike,
Here.
Ms. Barker, Mr. Walker,
Here.
Mr. Sporhays, Ms. Dean. Here. Thank you.
Before we go to disclosures, I'd like to take a minute. Tonight we have what we call a short board. There's 5 of us instead of 9 of us. A short board gives the applicant the permission or the opportunity to postpone at their request to the next meeting. The reason we do that is because with 5, all 5 of us would have to vote in the affirmative to pass a motion. And it's called a short board. And this has been the policy for a number of years. We have 2 cases before us, and some of which you want to, I think some of you were here to testify on. Case 2014-0105 and case 2014-0106, which are the Huffman and Lake Otis case. And that will be postponed, I believe. We'll find out officially here in just a couple minutes to August 4, as will case 2014-0083, Section 36, Master Park. I believe that will also get postponed. I apologize. The commission did not know of this until late Friday night after 5. And by the time we can get the news to the petitioners and get their response, it was this afternoon before we found out that they had asked to postpone. So I apologize for dragging everybody out on this gorgeous, beautiful evening. The only good news is you get to go home and enjoy it. Commissioner Spring, if you'd take your seat and handle the disclosures, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll go through the list of the members present. Commissioner Strike, do you have any disclosures to make?
No disclosures.
Commissioner Walker?
No.
Commissioner Dean?
No.
Commissioner Ferguson?
No.
And I have no disclosures to announce either. So.
Okay. Let's get the date squared away a little bit out of order. If no one has objection, we'll get that done so the public can know what we're doing. Ms. Dean, I think you may have a motion for us.
My machine works. Mr. Chair, in the matters of cases 2014-0105 and case 2014-0106, cases, let's see, the third one will be 2014-0083. I move to take all 3 of those cases and move those to postpone until August 4th.
Do we have a second to that motion? We have a second to that motion. Any discussion? Staff? Okay, thank you, staff. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye, thumbs up. Okay, that motion carried. For the public, that moves the 2 cases on the same parcel on Huffman and Lake Otis to August 4th, and it also moves the Section 36 Master Plan to August 4th also. So if you came for those, that's the date to aim for. And I do sincerely, on behalf of the commission and the staff, apologize for dragging you out tonight. I hope you guys go home too. I think if you sit around for 30 minutes, you might get to see us go home. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Ms. Dean, back to the consent agenda. Make a motion to make approve.
I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, there's an item under C2 before the consent agenda.
Oh, you're right. Thank you. I apologize. My error. Do we have a staff report on the Eagle River traffic mitigation study?
No, Mr. Chair, there is no staff report. But I believe there are petitioner's representatives should you have questions.
Okay. Do the petitioner's representatives have a presentation for us? Before they start, can you clarify what is our action on this item?
Mr. Chair, there is no action on this item. This is step 1 in the 3-step context-sensitive solutions process. The first step is a concept report, which is provided to you as an information item only. No action is required. The second step is a design study report, which comes to you, and one on this project will come to you in the future. And the third step is the 65% plans in hand design review that goes to the Urban Design Commission.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Aaron Christie. I'm with Dowell HKM.
Aaron, pull the mic up closer to you so we can hear you.
Got it. Spelling of my name is Aaron, A-A-R-O-N. Last name is Christie, C-H-R-I-S-T-I-E. Just here to give a brief overview of the intent of this project. We're in the very early stages. As you saw from your packet, we've completed the concept report, which is really more of a problem identification step. We're not at the point yet where we're going through design. This project, people often wonder where this project originated from. Originated from the Central Business District circulation and access study that was generated previously, and this is again for Eagle River in the Central Business District area. What arose from that project was 4 high priority projects. This is the first of other projects to follow. Those subsequent projects have not been identified or prioritized. The goal of this first project is to connect Business Boulevard with the intersection of Eagle River Road and Old Glen Highway. That's here. You can see the 4 high priority projects in red. And again, the one that we're working on is the one that connects those 2 points. And our project identifies or the purpose of our project will be to increase circulation and access into the Central Business District to help revitalize this core area in Eagle River, and then also relieve congestion with 3 different intersections. The 2 different intersections that Business Boulevard makes with Old Glen Highway and the intersection between Eagle River Road and Old Glen Highway. So those 3 locations are here. And we're currently evaluating the feasibility and ability for this project to do all of those things. And as we start moving toward design and the design study report phase, we'll be evaluating the various challenges and opportunities that this project presents, and then looking at specific alternatives for that particular connection. Right now, that's just a straight line connecting the 2 points with no design at this point. And as you can see over in the far board, those are some of the very rough concepts that we generated to develop extremes of where that alignment may be placed. We used those concepts to help generate public comment, get public input during our fairly extensive public involvement phase so far. We've had 3 meetings with a technical advisory committee made up of municipal and state representatives, and we've also had 3 public meetings that have been well attended, usually between 30 and 50 people from members of the public, and we've received extensive comments for and against in general the project, and then everything in between. And overall, the public process has been very, very informative, helped us scope out the project, identify challenges that need to be overcome during design. That's it in brief.
Anyone have any questions? Mr. Spring?
Just a couple of questions. First of all, I think that you did a really good job of explaining the problem, which is the main purpose, I believe, of this particular concept report. One thing I noticed was in the Technical Advisory Committee, you didn't include the Trails Coordinator, at least I didn't see the name included in it. And the context-sensitive transportation project guidelines adopted by the municipality called for that. It states that it should be that person should be included in this some way or another. And I assume it'd be more appropriate to include it in TAC. I don't know. I don't think it's a fatal flaw or anything. It's just that maybe you could have benefited to have some discussion on trails and sidewalks and issues too.
Yeah, and that's
in a little bit more depth. Maybe this person could have contributed to it.
Okay. Okay. Well, and certainly it's a good comment, and we'll go back and review why that wasn't the case. Maybe, and then make sure that as we move forward, there's certainly plenty of involvement to be had and input from the municipality. We'll make sure that that person's properly involved.
And follow-up question, if I may, Mr. Chair. As I said, the problem was really well identified, I thought. But I didn't see, and I'm not sure if it's included in this report or it's going to be in the design, I'm sure it'll be in the design study report, what effect this particular solution that you identified, kind of as a straight line connecting 2 points, would have in solving the problem. I didn't see much discussion about that. I mean, I personally believe that it will have a positive effect on the congestion at the intersections you pointed out.
Yeah.
But I didn't see how much it would help to solve it and which intersections it would solve. I mean,
Right.
Was there any consideration of that in this report?
Yeah, we've certainly given it considerable thought, but in general, we don't focus on that within a concept report. That's something that we really try to then focus on during the design study report. Here are in the concept report, we say, here are the problems. In the design study report, we then start to, we really then develop, here are the solutions. So those are all things that we will be focusing on and be much explained in detail.
You can see where I'm a little confused, though, because I agree then if that's the case, then you'll follow up and have alternative solutions proposed in the design study report. Yet this report seemed to indicate that there was one solution already picked out, and that was the connection from that you show in that far right diagram. So it's a little confusing to me when I read the report that it looks like you've already identified the solution more or less pretty closely, and yet I didn't see any real justification in the report as to how much benefit that would have.
Right. I have a better feel for your question now. So as part of the Central Business District study that was done previously, there were many projects, in fact 21 in all, that were identified for helping to resolve the connectivity and overall transportation infrastructure within Eagle River. This is the first one. And it's the first one because it was one of the 4 high priority projects. The reason it was one of those 4 is a question we often get asked, and my fairly straightforward answer is it's the one that got funded. And it's nothing that we chose as designers or the municipality chose. It was the one that was selected for funding.
So, in effect, it looks like you're relying on the previous plans analysis and whatever to justify this particular alternative, and because they've presumably already done the analysis.
As a starting point, and it's certainly our responsibility as it moves forward to further evaluate those solutions and verify that money is going to be spent in the right place.
Okay, so we expect to see that then.
That's right. There's traffic studies and other evaluations that really evaluate this in great detail and should answer all the questions that folks have, because a number of folks have had questions similar to yours.
Ms. Dean?
Through the chair, I have a couple questions on the process. So right now you've written this report for the MOA, and the MOA paid for it.
Correct.
And then the next step after this will be?
The next step is the design study report.
Okay.
And that's due this fall. The draft design study report. The goal is to have 3 alternatives within that design study report, present that to the public sometime after that draft is due in October, November timeframe, receive additional public feedback, and then finalize the design study report with a preferred alternative. And at that point, the Muni will decide whether to move forward.
So then at that point, then you have a design study report complete. And then at that point, the MOA goes to the state to request funds for the road at that point? I'm assuming it's a road.
Yeah. So there, at that point, the project's already funded through 2 state grants that total $8.5 million.
So it has been funded?
To a certain extent.
Okay.
I think it's generally agreed upon that this entire project's going to cost more than $8.5 million.
Okay.
We don't know how much, but that will also be identified in the design study report.
I did read, some property owners that aren't thrilled about the road coming through their property. The proposed road, which is still not completely decided, but it does put a big red X on their property. How soon would construction happen for the road?
Best case, 2017.
Okay. So,
And I can explain why it's so far out there. I mean, there's another project that we're coordinating with closely for the DOT that they're doing along the highway between the Highland interchange and the Artillery interchange, which is adjacent to our project here. That's the Glen Highway Capacity Improvement Project, which is adding a 3rd lane northbound and ends right there. So we don't want 2 projects going on at the same time. Not that they really overlap, but the last thing folks want to do is have to drive through these 2 congested construction sites. And then, of course, there's going to be right-of-way acquisition involved with this project, no matter where it goes. That's usually a standard 2 years to go through the full right-of-way acquisition process. And then there's additional funding to be obtained also. So all of those things take time. So, when I say best case 2017, it's probably best case.
thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Dean? Mr. Strike, I'm sorry.
Yeah, kind of through the chair, this is a follow-up question to Ms. Dean, but you alluded to the, is there any significant right-of-way acquisition? Is there significant right-of-way acquisition requirements on this project?
Yes, as is often the case with an urban development project, absolutely, especially given that there's no corridor there at this time. So, as I'm sure most of you are familiar, during a road project where there's any kind of significant improvements, even if it's an existing corridor, there's usually significant right-of-way. In this case, there's not even a current right-of-way there.
Obviously,
so there
you're
would
going to
be.
get pushback from anybody that's impacted, but are you seeing significant pushbacks now?
Varying degrees. It runs the gamut from folks who have said, look, I'm about to develop my property, either buy it from me or I'm going to start building tomorrow, and they've been very anxious to sell it and couldn't be more agreeable because they just wanted to move on with their business plans to the point where folks say, no way.
Through the planning process, we're moving vehicles through this area. What about pedestrians? Is there a high concentration of pedestrian access now? Is this a growing concern, or where are we at?
Yeah, and that is part of the objectives, is to improve pedestrian non-motorized access. And that was identified going way back to the initial study, and it's comments that we continue to hear from the public is this can't just be a bunch more vehicles going through here. We need some improved non-motorized access also.
So with that comes lighting?
Yes.
Okay. Any anticipation of what kind of lighting?
It would most likely just meet the standard MOI design criteria manual. And then, of course, that's on 2 different levels. There's pedestrian criteria, and then there's roadway
Exactly
criteria.
what I was referring to is the pedestrian non-motorized.
Sorry,
Sorry, I wasn't clear on that.
Yeah, I'm assuming, yes, that it would include lighting for pedestrians.
Mr. Strike, are you done? Mr. Walker? I have a couple questions. I noticed that you want a 100-foot right-of-way, but everything is existing 70-foot right-of-way. I would strongly encourage you to stick to the 70-foot right-of-way. You will be taking property. The less property you take, and I recognize as a designer, it's awful nice to have 100 feet. That covers a lot of sense. But I think you could fit this into a 70-foot right-of-way on it, and it would take less land. And we don't we need the roads and we need the road improvements, but we also need to mitigate their impact on the communities that we can on that. I don't have anything further. If nobody else has anything further, thank you very much for your report. Have a good evening.
Thank you, you too.
You want these bad? Erica, what do you want us with these? Ms. Dean, would you do the consent agenda now, please?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? Hint. Thank you, Mr. Strike. Any objection to the consent agenda? Anything pulled? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved as submitted. Before we go to an adjournment, I have sent out an email regarding the packets getting couriered to our house or hand-delivered at the meeting. Mr. Strike is thumbs up. Mr. Walker, do you have a thought? Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Okay. Ms. McConnell, could we try for the August 11th meeting to see if that works? And I mean, I'm looking to simplify the process, and so if we're putting a round peg in a square hole, let me know on it. But let me know what doesn't work or something like that, but we can try that, please.
Definitely, Mr. Chair.
Do you mean the August 4th meeting?
No, the August 11th meeting, which would mean you'd get the packet at the August 4th meeting,
Right.
okay? It's the packet of the August 11th meeting. Now, if somebody would make a motion to adjourn, thank you, Ms. Dean. If I have a second, Mr. Walker, any further business come before the body? Thank you all, and good evening.